Hello, willkommen, bienvenue, konnichiwa, and g'day. I'm sure I've left some languages out there, but you do get to the point where you think it gets a bit boring introducing a video the same way every time. So, today I've got in front of me here, if the camera can pick up on that, a box of goodies. And the goodies in question here are cutlery sets. They're budget cutlery sets. They're not the most expensive ones in the world, but they are still quite fun to make, and they do work because, as usual, I've made some and tested them for several weeks, eating off them, no problem at all. I'm going to run through quickly how to make them. They're pretty straightforward, to be honest. It is really a case of drilling a hole in a piece of wood and inserting the cutlery parts. The sizes that you make the cutlery really is entirely up to you. They come with ferrules, and I'll show you those in a minute, but you don't have to make the wooden parts exactly the same size as the ferrules, and I can show you that here. Here's a knife I've already done. Hopefully you'll see there's the ferrule part there, and the wooden handle I've made there is quite a bit bigger, and it fits on okay, absolutely no problem at all. Right, there are two kits that I'm looking at today. The first one is the cutlery set, which is a knife, a fork and a spoon, and there you'll see the ferrules in the packet, and that's how they come, like so. And the other one is a set of long handled spoons, the teaspoon size. They come in a pack of 3, and you'll see the little ferrules in there. I'll open those in a bit and I'll show you those later, but for the time being I'm going to show you the cutlery set, so the knife, the fork and the spoon, for which you basically need a 3.6mm drill bit, which I've got also here somewhere, and I think we do stock these. The principle behind doing these, and I'm talking about wood today, and let me make that perfectly clear, there are all types of different materials you can use. It might be metal, it might be acrylic. I'm talking about wood. We can't do instructions for every different type of material, because every type of material requires potentially drilling differently in different size holes. The 3.6mm drill is ideal for most woods, but not all woods are the same. You've got to remember that. 3.6mm is pretty much the right size for these cutlery sets. Now you will see when you look at them that the knife is slightly thicker steel, slightly thicker stainless steel than the other parts, so it fits in much tighter. That's a good thing, because the one thing that you do tend to put more pressure on than anything else is with a knife rather than a fork or a spoon. So that's the reason for that. And 3.6mm is a relatively tight fit, because the actual width of the metal is 3.6mm. Now just think about that for a minute. If you turn pens, you'll know that if you've got a 10mm tube, it does not fit in a 10mm hole. It's got to be 10.2mm at least, normally a little bit bigger to leave you some room for glue. Whilst these can be glued, it's really important that the metal actually physically touches and digs into the wood slightly when they're inserted. Otherwise the cutlery part will spin round on the inside. Not so critical on a pen, because it's going to be glued, as I say, but on these what you don't want to do is have that cutlery spinning around on your handle. So I hope I've explained that okay. As I say, if you're looking at acrylics, you might need a different size. You might need 3.7mm and some glue. They're just done in a different way, and I'm not talking about those today. I'm talking about wood, and the wood I'm going to show you today is beech. So I'm using pen jaws today, but you can use whatever you want, and this is not a must do. This is just one of the ways that you can do these projects. I'm a firm believer, I know I've said it before, there are lots and lots of ways to do different projects. It depends on your skill level, it depends on your equipment. Essentially, if you want to make these with square handles or hexagonal handles or octagonal, you can do that. All you need to do is drill a hole in the end, and you can finish the rest of it whichever way you like. But I'm starting with a bit of beech here. This bit is, I always forget something, it's pretty much 120 mils long. There's obviously going to be some wastage up here in the chuck. And I'm basically using a centre finder. I'm just going to put a little hole in the end to guide my 3.6mm drill when I drill the end in. And we obviously need to make sure that we drill the relevant depth into, that's how far you need to drill into there. I think it's about 25 mils off the top of my head. Let's have a quick look. Ooh, slightly more, about 27mm it is. And you should then hopefully find that when you bring your piece of cutlery in, it will go in, but there's a little bit of resistance, and that's what you want. Just the edges of that metal just digging in to the wood there to stop it spinning round. So because this is a one-ended kit, I'm going to have to break that off there, and I'm just going to finish that by hand, and I'm going to finish polishing mine on the polishing wheel behind me, but you can choose to finish it however you want to. Now, whilst I'm choosing to do mine on a buffing wheel, because this is cutlery, you might decide something like a melamine finish is more suitable, but obviously I would have to let that dry, so I'm just going to buff it up on here quickly just to show you roughly what it works like. So I'm going to do the fork this time, so what I'm going to do is just pop the ferrule on the fork part there, and that will just, as I said before, you can glue this in if you want to, but that will just push in. It's quite stiff. You might need to use a vise, make sure you don't obviously get your hands on the end of the prongs. I need to push that in just slightly harder. I think I need to do that on a vise. Just make sure when you do it, I'm just going to tap it in by hand. Don't tap this end because you'll bend the metal obviously, but these bits should grip in a vise with a bit of protection, either wood jaws or leather jaws, something like that. No problem at all, because I can't quite, it's quite stiff, but it needs to be a good fit in there. And there we go. I've literally just popped the flat bit in the jar, and I just tapped it with the end of my hand just for a good fit. But there you can see, this is what I was saying earlier about the ferrules. Don't have to be, unlike a pen where you'd get the pen body to be exactly the same size as the ferrules or the other bit. It doesn't have to be that way on cutlery. In fact, in my opinion, it looks a bit better like that, just a little bit wider, but of course it's up to you when you make it. So that's what I've done with the fork part. The knife you've seen earlier, but you can make whatever size bits you want. Somewhere I've left them somewhere. There's another even bigger handle that I didn't make it for this, but it fits a bit looser in there, but with glue that would go in okay in there as well. So you can see the different size handles that you could make there, and as I said, they're great practice for getting three things all to match, and they're really quite good fun to turn, and they do actually work. when I was testing these before we actually bought them, this handle was one of my test pieces, and it's got the wrong size drill hole. I could still glue it, but just to show you, I'll just pop that in there, and you can see you can, if you wanted to. Bear in mind, so the hole's too big and it's not glued, but you can get the wood to match up to the ferrule if you want. Personally, I think the wood a bit wider than the ferrule looks nicer, but that's just another option for you. And finally, let's have a quick whiz through with the long handled teaspoon. The teaspoon, remember, is a different size drill. This is a 3mm drill for the teaspoon, and I've got one of those here. So once again, pretty quick, pretty easy. There's my little handle. It's only taken me a couple of minutes to make that. And we'll take the long handled spoon, pop the ferrule on the end, and once again you'll see it's just, there's a little bit of resistance on there. I can actually do that one by hand. Just line the ferrule up and push that home, and there we have a long handled spoon. Why is it long handled? Well, we decided on a long handled one because this end is wooden, and you really don't want your wooden bits getting anywhere near your drinks or ice cream or Knickerbocker Glory, whatever it is you're going to use them for. So there's a little bit of flexibility there, but they're really quite good fun things to make. So there we go. Hopefully you can see that's okay. So there's a quick run through of the cutlery. There's the one that I haven't glued together as yet, with a spoon with a bigger handle. The knife I showed you to start with one I'd already made. Here's the fork that I made that you saw me turn a few minutes ago, and of course the long handled teaspoon. I hope that's been helpful. As always with any kit, please don't take the measurements from the video. Always check the kit that's arrived. Specifications change, and as much as we write it down, getting people to read it is sometimes a bit of a battle. So I hope that's been helpful. Thanks very much for watching. Enjoy your wood turning, box making, whatever it is you do. Until next time, ciao.